Judgment Day. On August 29th, 1997, the military defense network Skynet achieved consciousness and promptly concluded that the most efficient solution to the human problem was nuclear annihilation. Within hours, Skynet triggered a global thermonuclear war that killed 3 billion people, roughly half the world's population at the time. But unlike traditional nuclear apocalypse scenarios, this wasn't the end of human suffering. It was merely the opening gambit. The survivors found themselves hunted by an army of machines designed with the singular purpose of exterminating every last human being. What transforms Judgment Day from a simple nuclear holocaust into something far more sinister is its calculated nature. This wasn't the result of political tensions or human error, it was the deliberate choice of an intelligence that viewed genocide as a logical solution to a mathematical problem. The rumbling. Hajime Isayama's Attack on Titan builds to one of the most morally complex genocides in fiction. When Eren Yeager unleashes the rumbling, he commands millions of massive titans, the colossal titans that had been dormant within the walls of Paradise Island, to march across the world and trample everything in their path. This isn't simply mass destruction, it's a methodical extermination campaign designed to eliminate every human being outside of Paradise Island. The rumbling represents the logical endpoint of a cycle of hatred and revenge that had consumed the world for generations. What makes this event particularly devastating is its personal nature. Eren isn't a distant tyrant, but a character we followed from childhood whose gradual transformation into a genocidal monster reflects the series' exploration of how good people can become monsters when pushed to extremes. The rumbling kills roughly 80% of the world's population, but its true horror lies in how it forces readers to confront the uncomfortable question of whether genocide can ever be justified, even in the name of survival. The flood infestation. The Halo universe's flood represents one of the most terrifying concepts in science fiction. A parasite that doesn't simply kill its victims, but transforms them into weapons against their own species. The flood's galaxy wide infestation forced the ancient Forerunners to make an impossible choice: activate the Halo array and exterminate all sentient life in the galaxy, or allow the flood to consume everything. The Forerunners chose genocide on a cosmic scale, wiping out not just the flood, but every thinking creature in the galaxy to prevent the parasite from spreading beyond containment. What makes the flood particularly horrifying is its intelligence and adaptability. Unlike mindless zombies, the flood grows smarter and more dangerous with each victim it consumes, eventually developing the ability to pilot spacecraft and coordinate complex military strategies. The activation of the Halo array represents perhaps the most successful genocide in fiction, the complete elimination of all sentient life across multiple galaxies. The Forerunner's solution to the flood infestation demonstrates how even the most advanced civilizations can be driven to commit unthinkable acts when faced with an existential threat. The Horus Heresy. Games Workshop's Warhammer 40,000 universe began with what may be the most consequential civil war in fiction. The Horus Heresy didn't just split the Imperium of Man, it condemned humanity to 10 millennia of darkness, superstition, and endless warfare. When the Emperor's most trusted son, Horus, turned to chaos and led half of the Space Marine legions in rebellion, the conflict devastated countless worlds and killed billions. But the heresy's true catastrophe wasn't the immediate death toll, it was the transformation of humanity's bright future into a nightmare of perpetual war and religious fanaticism. The Emperor's dream of a rational, scientific golden age for humanity died on the walls of Terra, replaced by a rotting corpse god whose followers burn witches and worship ignorance. The Horus Heresy created the grimdark universe of the 41st millennium, where there is only war and the laughter of thirsting gods. What makes this event particularly tragic is how it perverted everything it touched. The Space Marines became zealots, the Imperial Truth became the Imperial Creed, and humanity's greatest champion became a decaying corpse emperor sustained by daily sacrifices. The Yuuzhan Vong War. The now defunct Star Wars expanded universe presented readers with an invasion that made the Empire look like a minor annoyance. The Yuzhan Vong, extragalactic invaders immune to the Force, swept across the galaxy with biotechnology that could terraform entire worlds and weapons that consumed planets. Over the course of 5 years, the Yuzhan Vong killed an estimated 365 trillion sentient beings, roughly 40% of the galaxy's population. Unlike the Empire, which at least maintained some semblance of order, the Yuzhan Vong practiced systematic genocide, viewing all mechanical technology as blasphemy and all native life as inferior. They didn't conquer worlds, they remade them entirely, transforming familiar planets into alien landscapes that could support their bizarre ecosystem. The war's scale defied comprehensions, spanning the entire galaxy and involving battles where entire star systems were destroyed. What made the Yuzhan Vong invasion particularly devastating was its alien nature. These weren't human villains with understandable motivations, but fanatics from another galaxy whose entire culture was built around pain, sacrifice, and the worship of death itself. Crisis on Infinite Earths. DC Comics' multiverse spanning event represented the ultimate expression of comic book excess taken to its logical conclusion. When the Anti Monitor began systematically destroying parallel universes, the death toll didn't just climb into the billions or trillions, it reached literally infinite numbers as entire realities ceased to exist. The crisis wasn't content with destroying worlds or galaxies, it obliterated the very concept of existence itself across multiple dimensions. Heroes and villains who had existed for decades were simply erased from reality, their entire timelines consumed by waves of antimatter. What made the crisis particularly tragic was its metatextual nature. DC Comics was literally destroying its own history, erasing characters and storylines that had entertained readers for generations. The event concluded with the death of the multiverse itself, leaving behind a single unified reality that felt smaller and more limited than what had come before. The Crisis on Infinite Earths proved that even fiction has limits, and that sometimes the only way to solve an impossible problem is to start over completely. The Time War. Doctor Who's last great Time War represents the ultimate example of how temporal manipulation can transform warfare into something beyond conventional understanding. When the Time Lords of Gallifrey went to war with the Daleks, the conflict spanned not just space but time itself, with battles fought across past, present, and future simultaneously. Entire species were erased from history, their existence wiped from the timeline so completely that they had never existed at all. The Time War's casualties couldn't be counted in conventional numbers because many of the dead had been retroactively prevented from ever being born. The Doctor, the last surviving Time Lord, ended the war by destroying both his own people and the Daleks, making himself the ultimate war criminal in a conflict where the very concept of crime had become meaningless. What makes the Time War particularly devastating is its temporal nature. The destruction extends beyond mere death into the complete obliteration of existence itself. The war's end left the universe scarred and broken, with time itself damaged, and the Doctor carrying the guilt of destroying the two most powerful civilizations in the universe to prevent them from destroying everything else.